Hi guys, Squirrel here, and welcome to another episode of my realistic playthrough on Derail Valley version B99. Those two locomotives have been parked over there now. That's what we just arrived with, and we dropped off, if you remember, a bunch of trams and some steel. I've gone ahead and unloaded those now, and that's brought our money up, because unloading those trams netted about $49,000, which is pretty cool. So we're now on $293,000. And we have to decide what we're doing next. Now, there's a few things to consider. First of all, it's been raining, but it's just finished raining. However, it is about to go dark. It's 8 p.m., so I may sleep through the night. The second thing is we don't know what the weather forecast is for tomorrow because this only updates at 6 a.m. We can see it's going to be a clear night, though, so, you know, in theory, we could do a nighttime run. But I think we'll do one of those later when we've got some more lights on our locomotives. So yeah, my plan is to try and find a job and then haul it, sleep through the night, then haul it. Now, the question then turns to what to do next because, well, we have some fees on the two locomotives that we've been running. We have about $20,000 in fees, but we only have to pay $5,555. And in terms of licenses, if you remember, we do have the fragile license and the dispatcher license and concurrent one, which lets us take one additional job. The question now is, what licenses should we get and what jobs should we go for? So let's have a look. So what I've done is I have moved all the hazmat jobs out the way over here. Anything that's hazmat or long 2, for example, I've moved over here because there's no way we're going to be buying those licenses today. In terms of what licenses we may want to get, now there's a few things to consider. The DH4 is a fantastic locomotive, and there is one over there by the yard. However, I kind of want to show you some other things first. So I'm not going to get the DH4 just yet. What I am going to do, I think, maybe, is get the DM3 and possibly the multiple unit license. Now, if we have a look at the details, the multiple unit license will put our insurance copay up by $5,000, which is not great, but it's not the end of the world. That will, if you remember, when we have two DE2s connected, or a DE2 and a DH4, it will allow us to operate one, and it will operate the other one automatically via that blue cable that connects them. The DM3 is a difficult to operate locomotive, and so doesn't have any downsides to taking that license. The downside really of the DM3, apart from it being difficult to operate, is the fact that it doesn't have a blue connection cable. You can't remote control it, and you can't operate it through a connection via that blue cable either. So it's a bit of a standalone unit in that sense. Concurrent orders 2, this is something we're not going to get yet. It puts our copay up by quite a lot, but it will unlock any number of jobs. We're not quite ready for that, so we'll leave that one to one side. Train length 1 is something that we probably want to get now. There's a few jobs in the mix that are train length 1, and it would benefit us to have it because the copay only goes up by $1,900, which is pretty decent. Train length 2, on the other hand, is not something we want yet. 10,000 copay increase is a heck of an amount. But just look at what we could do if we did have these things. So there's some jobs down the back. Shunting, look at that. Long 2, fragile. Fragile we already have. Long 2, $50K. With a bonus, that's $75,000. That's a huge amount of money. Same thing again here. Shunting job, $60K. With a bonus, almost $90,000 for having long 2. So, you know, although the license costs a lot of money, the jobs really start to stack up. But I'm not going to go for long 2 yet. But long 1 jobs as well are quite interesting. Long 1 allows you to haul bigger trains, basically. Not much useful there, but look at this one. That one's quite nice. That's a $46,000 job up to the machine factory. So if we got long 1, we could do that. But that's 412 tons just on its own. And remember, we'd want to combine them with concurrent jobs. So we'd want to take another job to go with it. Well, these 4 here don't go in that general direction, but these 2 do. This goes directly to the machine factory, and this one here goes to City West. They both pay a very similar amount, but they have different weights. This is 238 tons, and this is 179 tons. This one is a bit more convenient because we just go to the machine factory, whereas this one would have to drop it off a little bit earlier at City West, but it's no great pains. like I say, virtually the same amount of money. It's just whatever you want to take. So I would go with the less weight option and possibly think about combining it with that one. Nothing else that we can do. Sawmill and Forest South are of no interest. So in order to take this job, we need to get our Long 1 license, and then we need to think about how we're going to haul just over 600 tons. Will 2 DE2s handle that? Maybe. So first thing we need to do is clear our fees, so we're going to do that. We're going to pay for these fees here. Do you have a manual service? You could save money on this fee by servicing the vehicle manually. Now, that is true, but the problem with the manual service, if we have a look at it here, not that we have it, but the manual service puts the copay up by 7,000, and that's quite a lot. We're already looking at putting it up by about 7,000, aren't we? Like 5,000 plus 1,900. So I think we'll just stomach that for now, and then we'll think about manual service later on. So let's clear these fees down and get these licenses purchased. There we go. That's that license fee cleared. And now we can go and buy these things here. So we'll get train length 1. That's going to cost us 10 grand. Lovely. We'll get the DM3 license because there's no pain about getting that. There's no downside. And we'll get the multiple unit license, which is 30 grand. Okay, so we now own those 3 licenses. Which is great, because now we can do a longer train, and we have access to the DM3 as well, and we can connect 2 DE2s, and they will operate through the blue cable. So now we need to turn our attention to these here, and then work out what we're going to actually haul with. So with these, we can see that this one is a connection in C3I to pick up, sorry, an E70, I beg your pardon, it's a drop-off in C3I. This is in the E-yard, this one is also in the E-yard. City West, if you remember, coming out of the harbour, City West is here. We've done it before. We've passed through it, and then we can reverse in and drop off, head up to Machine Factory. So we're not looking at going to new places with this particular job, but we are going to haul it in an interesting way, I think. So what we want to do is pick up this job first. So we'll grab this one, because this is going to be immediately connected to... Sorry, no, let me do it the other way around. We'll grab this one because it's going to be immediately connected to the locomotive, and then we'll grab this one because we're going to drop it off first. We'll get that one second, if that makes sense. So, what locomotive do we haul with? Well, let's take a little sleep, and then we'll think about that. Okay, I'm going to sleep till 5:30-ish. That's perfect. That means that we're going to wake up, the weather forecast won't have updated, but we can basically grab our locomotives and then everything should be ready to go. I'm hoping for dry weather. Now, what vehicles are we going to drive? This is the main thing. We could operate, given that this is 400 tons plus 180 tons, it's nearly 600 tons. And if you remember, the DE2 can do 400 tons, sorry, no, it can do 300 tons each up a 2% gradient. So that's 600 tons, and that's more or less what we've got. But the climb out of there can be 2%, more than 2%. This thing can easily overheat. Oh, by the way, because we've now got the multi-unit license, you can actually connect the blue cable, which means when you operate one locomotive, it operates the other one, which is brilliant. So we could operate 1 or 2 of those. Well, not one of them, but 2 of them. One of them we could operate, and this is what I'm thinking. I could try it with 2 DE2s, but I'm actually thinking of trying it with a DM3 as well. My only quandary is whether to use 1 DE2 or 2 DE2s alongside the DM3. 2 of these could do 600 tons. The DM3 can do 500 tons, so I think the DM3 with a DE2 should be able to deal with it. So we'll take 1 D2 and 1 DM3. However, the DM3 does not have a blue cable. You can't connect it, as I've already said. So we're going to have to remotely control the DE2. Oh, by the way, speaking of DE2s, this is the museum vehicle. So it looks like on my playthrough, this has spawned right here at the harbour. This is a museum piece. This is something that we can later take to the museum, restore, and use as our personal locomotive. But that's very expensive and not something we can do right now. Let me just get this turntable into position. Oh, I've gone too far. On top of the end one. There we go. Just drive forward and then move it again. Right, this is the mighty DM3. This is a powerhouse. This is a bit like driving a truck. I did do a dedicated video on this if you want to learn in detail how to operate it. There is a particular sequence that you have to go through with the gears. We'll start off by putting on the electrics and the dash light, the cab light, and then we will put the front lights on and the rear lights on. Release the handbrake. Put the brake cutout into down position, and then we'll fire it up. Okay, now, this is a very hands-on locomotive, and it's not for the faint-hearted. You can blow the gearbox up on this. It's a manual transmission. It uses hydraulic fluid to connect the engine to the wheels. I do go through this in a lot more detail in my dedicated video, but basically, it's hands-on, but it really can pull. So we'll see how we get on. Currently, it's in gearbox position 1-1, so this is like a bit like if you've ever ridden a bike that has a high gear and a normal gear, like your Derail gears, that you might have 1 to 6 here, and then you might have a high-low there. It's a bit like that. This is in 1-1 position. You then go to 1-2, and then you come back again and go to 2-1, and then 2-2, and then you come back on both of them and go to 3-1. Sorry, you go to... I'm getting mixed up myself now. You then go to 2-3, and then you go to 3-3. When you're driving up a hill and things are going wrong, you can easily select the wrong gear and blow the whole thing out the water. Now, as soon as we put the reverser in, it will start to roll because it's in 1-1 position, and there's a bit of transmission going through on the fluid. So we'll just give it a little bit of throttle. Now, the trick with this thing is you do have to disengage the throttle before you change gears, so it's a bit old school in that sense, in that you have to back it off and then select your gear and then apply the power again. And that's another thing that can catch people out. Let's get on this thing here. Okay, looks like we're almost central. Put the independent brake on. Okay, while that's on, we'll then jump it out. Move it over. I wish this was a little bit easier to do. I mean, it's fun. You feel like you're pushing the bar, but... Okay, so there we go. And then jump back in. Release the brake. And then gradually apply some power. Careful not to over rev it. Put it into 1-2. Put it into 2-1. And so on. 2-2 is usually good enough for just casually driving around the yard. Looks like I've put the lights on the wrong setting. Should be that, I think. Is that right? No. I'm trying to remember how we do this. Lights front. No, it's definitely putting the lights backwards right now. Is it because I've got that on? Oh, I remember. I remember the weirdness of this. I'll figure it out in a second. Seems to be putting the rear light on the front light right now, which is obviously not what we want. Is that one? I can't remember how this works. Right, let's get past this signal, and then we'll stop. Backed off the throttle, put it back into 1-1, flip the reverser, release the brakes. I'm going to go straight to 2-1. A bit of throttle when I did that, so you hear the gears crunch. Okay, so what we want to do is basically put a DE2 onto the back of this thing, and then we'll just use the DE2 to actually do the shunting around the yard. So what I propose to do is just basically park this here for now. Put it back into its low gear setting. Leave the brake on, we'll put the handbrake on, and then operate the fuel cutoff. So, we're going to leave that. As soon as we've got our train ready, we're going to hook up onto that, and we'll use that to help us get out of the harbour. That's the plan. So let's go and grab one of these shunters and assemble the consist. Right, so I've actually changed my mind. I'm going to take both locomotives. I don't know if I'm going to turn both of them on. I probably will for the initial climb, and then I'll turn them off gradually. But I thought if we take more firepower, it's not going to be a necessarily bad thing. But if I don't take enough, then I won't make it up that hill. So it might be overkill, but I think it'll be fun to do this anyway. So let's have a look where we got to go. We've got to go to the E yard. We're currently round about here, so let's just stick it in reverse. And get this thing reversed out of here. We need to go to E yard, which means we need to go left into E yard. And then the initial pickup is this one, which is in E40. E40 is here. We're coming in from the west side. So we want to keep left, go right into E40. And then the other job will be E70, and 7's on the opposite side of the yard. So we'll then set that to right and then left. Hope that makes sense. We're going to basically reverse into this, pull it out, and then reverse into 70, pull that out, go and hook up the DM3, hand the jobs in, and get out of here. That's the plan. Let me just flick that to that way. That's because I was using the loading yard. There's E40. And then 70 will be that one there. Now, you may notice a lot of drum-type containers around here. It's no surprise. This place is a really good place to bring and empty oil, petroleum, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it's a harbour, so there's a lot of import-export going on. But it's a fantastic place for hazardous materials and also for military stuff later. So when you start getting into all the big boy stuff, you find yourself coming to the harbour quite a bit. Let's get that hooked. Brake pipe together. And do the stopcocks. Lock the chain. There we go. Right, hopefully the brake's here. No, it's not, so we've got to run to the end. Okay, that's that done. Right, put it back into forward. At least we can operate it from here. Now, only one of the loco engines is running at the moment, so there you go. I was about to say, just need to be careful of wheel slip when starting out, because there's quite a lot here. There's like 400 tons. It's okay on the flat, but at least the track's dry. So we need to check the weather forecast in a minute. We'll do that when we go and hand the job in. Alright, here's the second consist at E70. Oh, he's just going to run away from me. Oh, you little scumbag. Hang on. I should do it. There we go. Connect that. Connect that. And yet again, run to the back of the train. Okay, we are pretty much all set. Let's just double check the job numbers here. FH00 on that one. And FH02. No, get it in a second. FH02 on that one. That's 00. The rest of that is 02. Now, what we've got to do is drive this forward to the DM3. We're going to put the second engine on now. So we've got a bit more pulling power. So I'll just back the throttle off a sec. Put it into neutral, and then we'll start this. Check the brake is cut out, which it is. And now, when we basically, you'll notice when we operate the reverser, it's operating this one, because this one is connected to that one, so we're remote into that one, but it's connected via the blue cable to this one. So they're now both operational. So what we could do is drive this over there, hand the job in, hook it up to the DM3, start the DM3, and then haul it out of here. The job time on the first job is 148, that's 128 minutes. That should be plenty of time to get this thing out of here. I think we've got enough pulling power. It looks like it's going to be sunny and dry, although it is getting a bit cloudy. We'll check the forecast in a second. Okay, let's go and hand that in. Actually, no, what we'll do is we'll hook it all up, start the DM3, and then we'll hand it in. Come on. Get out of the way. And connect. Connect the pipes. Now we need to decide who's going to have the brake cut off. So I think what we'll do is we'll cut the brake out on this one, because we'll let the remote control, we'll do our braking on the remote control, and then it's not confusing. The problem is, if I do the braking on this one, I won't be able to remote control the braking. So if I get out and that's cut out, I won't have any control. Well, by letting one of the DE2s do it, in particular this one's got the brake cut in. So if I operate the brakes with this thing, it's going to operate the whole train. So we'll do it that way. Let's just jump in, start this up. So we're going to manually drive this and remotely operate that. As soon as we've got up the hill, we'll probably cut this out and just remote control that, because that should be enough grunt at that point. But I think it'd be fun to do this, so let's go and hand the job in and get going. Right, just before we actually hand it in, that's going to C4I and that's going to C3I in City West. C4I, C3I. Let's get the points set. So we're coming out of the harbour, we're going to have to keep right out of the harbour, go up the hill, and then keep left. So we want to right out the harbour, then a left at the triangle, along through here, where we're going to keep right down to the steel mill, left to bypass the steel mill, through the farm, through Orwell Central, keep right into here, keep right into City West, keep left up to the machine factory. So the only thing now to set is to make sure that we're going to go straight through the farm. And with the farm, we'll be coming from there's the north there, the red, so we're coming from the east. So we're going to keep right into B yard. And then at B yard, we're going to keep right, then left. That'll take us straight through. Then into Orwell Central, same thing. We're going to keep left into B. And then in B, we're going to keep right, then left. That'll take us straight through. At City West, we're going to be coming right, then right again. And then we're going to reverse back down here. Keep right into C yard. And then I think we were set to go into 3I. So we keep left, left, right. C3I. Let me just double check that. C3I, yes. Up at the machine factory, let's just make sure we set the coal power plant to bypass, because we want to come through here and keep right to go past it. Up at the machine factory, we want to go into C yard, so we're coming in from the south, keep right, left into C yard, and then C4I, I think it was. So right, right, right again into C4I. Was that correct? C4I, yeah. Okay, I think we're good. We've done as much prep as we can. So we're going to hand that in now. Hand that one in. And the clock is now ticking. Not that we have a clock, or there is a stopwatch you can get, so you can time yourself. But you could just as easily bring up a timer on your phone. Let's get back in the DM3 and get going. Right, I have a little confession to make. I've never actually tried this combo before. I've never tried two D2s or DM3. There's definitely issues with this combo. It may not work out very well, but, you know, it'll be fun to find out. Because the problem is, I've got to estimate the speed for the gear changes with this, bearing in mind that the DE2s are behind me also pushing. So, let's start off by, I'm going to put this thing into 2-1, and I'm going to operate the two DE2s. We need to get up some speed here. I might have to reverse and take a run up, but I'm hoping that we won't. Definitely feels like the handbrake's on. Okay, that's because we slept, I think, and that reset the DM3. So I need to get as much speed as possible. Oh, it's got some nice grunts. Let's get it into 2.2. Let's get some power off the DE2s as well. Okay, 2.2, then goes into 3.1. This is, it requires a lot of concentration. Blimey. 2.3, and then we go to 3, so we're in 3.2, 3.3. So it's in top gear now. Speed is currently 30. Let's get the power on there. Okay, speedometer's here. We don't want to do more than about 40, 45. But we've got quite a lot of power in now. Let's have a look back at this. Ooh, it's looking good. Plenty of power in there. And as we make the climb, I'll start pushing the throttle in for this thing. We're approaching 40 Ks. That's actually on max throttle now, which is scary. Okay, we're running steady. DM3's getting a little bit hot, no surprise there. There's the temperature gauge. We'll see if it can cool itself. If not, we'll have to back it off. The temperature light is not on yet on the remote. There's the little light that will come on down there. Let's give it a bit more throttle. It is struggling, funnily enough. I thought it would not be a problem. That's approaching red. I'm going to have to back the throttle off on this, I think. It's okay at the moment. It's not in the red. The G2s are not particularly hot, so they can give a bit more. I'm just going to back this off just a notch. Yeah, that brought the temperature right down. D2s are well. This is interesting because if I hadn't have brought this second DE2, I really do think we would have struggled up this climb. It's only just dealing with it. I'm actually quite surprised by that. Okay, switch is set correctly. Put a bit more throttle back in on this now. Awesome. Well, this is a new one for me. If only I could work out the light switch arrangements. I really can't remember how they work. I remember them being a bit weird. But I can't remember what we're meant to have that on. Lights type F, lights type R. There we go. That was the problem. I should have had 2 Fs on. Yeah, there you go. I think that... Oh no, they're still pointing backwards. Oh no, that's the DE2's lights. Oh, I don't know. Right, let's watch the speed now. Back the throttle off slightly on this. Yeah, it should just be plain sailing now, because if you remember the map, we just rounded that triangle here, so we're kind of about to make this climb. There is a 40 turn through there, and then like a 40 through here, and then that's quite flat. Then you go downhill, watch yourself around that sharp turn, that's a 50 sharp drop. Through the farm, through the old well, drop into City West, big climb, machine factory done. It's good that we're doing this route again because you guys get to see the same route again, and you can see how you can start to plan your routes and your speed, which is great. But I think when we get to machine factory, we're going to have to change it up a little bit. I do want to move to the DH4 soon, very soon. I think the first combo might be a DE2, which is one of them, with the DH4. That's generally a nice little combination. The multi-unit license does allow you to link multiple trains. So we could have 2 DE2s and a DH4 appear, all connected by that blue cable, and they would all function. But what tends to happen is the DE2 will hold the DH4 back a little bit because it's much more capable, the DH4, and it has better cooling. So it's just something to bear in mind. You can get combos with these things. Let's put the throttle back up. I'm wondering whether to drop to 2-3 gear or not. Whether that would be too many RPMs. It's doing okay. I mean, it's... The tacho's in a good place, but the temperature's not really in a good place. Speed's coming back up, though. We'll just back it off again. D2 seems to be holding it just fine. Oh, I think I remember the weird and wonderful way that these lights work now. It's just so weird. The most counterintuitive things. But I think I've worked it out. Basically, they should both be, like, that's in the down position, which means the front light should be white. If I flick that to the up position, it means the front lights will operate as red. That's what it means. And it's the same thing on the rear. How do you want the rear to operate? So up means red, down means white, which means in the up position, they'll operate as red. It's just odd, is all I can say. But once you understand how it works, which I now do, you can work with it, but crikey. Whoever designed that? Right, I've backed off the throttle now on the DM3. So the D2's taking the load. There's not much of a load at this bit. It's more or less flat. But you'll notice, though, that the RPMs are quite high. The DM3 doesn't have a great top speed. It's more or less meant for shunting, for light hauling. So what we'll have to do is just back off slightly, because 60 and we're starting to go into the red zone pretty much. Okay, we're approaching the junction with the turn to drop down towards the steel mill. If I remember, this is 50, so I think we're okay speed-wise. There is a descent down to the steel mill that we have to pay attention to. Yep, 50, there we go. It's a bit deceiving. You see how it says 0.5 positive gradient? So it takes you uphill and then immediately drops you down. So we'll start to engage the old engine brake shortly and see if we can use some of this. Otherwise we'll have to use the train brake. So here we go. This is our descent now. 0.9. It's about a 1% drop, but the culprit is the triangle down the bottom that we've seen before. So just going to keep our eye on the speed here. 50 at the moment. We've got maximum engine brake. Oil temperature's now rising. But we're holding steady at 50, which is good. I don't think it's going to be able to deal with everything behind it, though. There's quite... No, it's not. So we need to get a little bit of brake in. Remember, we have to use the remote brake because we cut this one out on the DM3. Let's get that speed under control. There we go. So it looks like 2 pips of train brake along with full engine brake on the DM3 is holding it at 50. And then we just gradually release it as we go around that bend. Just double check the switch is set for left. Yes, it is. Left. And there's the 3.3 drop right there. So just keep the brakes on because the weight's now going through that turn. And then once we see that speed starting to come back like that, we can gradually start bringing the braking off. Let's release the brakes now. So we've just got the engine braking. Back of the train's through that. And there we go. That's how we do it. So just keep our speed up now, down to City West. Good old 30k turn coming up. Just get the braking on for that. Thankfully, it's a flat 30 around this bend. So just got to get the speed down. So we keep it at 30 more or less all the way into City West now. Right, so we're shortly dropping off this consist here, which is 179 tons, which will only leave with 400. Two DE2s can more than handle that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the power on this thing. Fuel cut off. Interesting. I think maybe it only works when the actual motion stopped. Okay, didn't know that. What we'll do is we'll stop it when we drop the rear 4 cars off. We'll turn this thing off. We don't need it to haul up this hill. The 2D2 should be able to handle that. There's no point burning fuel. We've not burnt a huge amount of fuel to be looking at it. So when we come to repair this, we'll only have to pay for that fuel, some oil, and whatever we've done to the wheels, etc., which won't be too hefty. Just going to put a little bit of power on just to keep the speed up, because as you make this sharp turn you will scrub off speed on this track, and also it's about to climb up as well. We need to clear the whole train through this switch here. I'm just going to jump out here, and then once the back's through we switch that to the right and we will be reversing into C yard at City West, which is this yard here. So we're basically at this switch here. Funny enough, if you hover over this on the little map thing, you'll see it highlights it in front of you, because that's that switch. Okay, we can back off that now and start the braking. So yeah, if you hover over that and click on it, you'll see it physically switches it. There's that one. Which is quite cool. You can visualize it when you stood next to it. Right, reverse that. And what we'll do is we'll get on the back of this. And we'll follow it in. Station yard is right there, so it's quite an easy drop. Drop these 4 cars off, set this thing moving, hand that job in, get back on the train, off we go to Machine Factory. Now with this one, that's 23,000, so we should get about, what, 12 bonus? So that'll be worth about 36. This one should be worth something around 70k in total. So, round about 100 grand up, minus whatever repair bills we've got. I reckon after we've repaired everything, we'll probably be on about 300,000, which is a really good place to be, considering we just bought some licenses. But really, we have to start thinking about our next steps now. Let me just double check where this is going. C3I'd. I always like to double check as we go in the yard. I can see that's wrong. See that one there? That should be right. And that should be left. So I definitely cocked that up, which is why I always double check on the way in. C3I is straight ahead. Yep, we're definitely going to C3I City West. Okay, so a mistake was made. But I picked it up in my double check. We do need to think about what we're doing next, because there comes a point when you basically have to just bite the bullet and get some, and your co-pay is just going to go up substantially. There's no two ways around it, unfortunately. In order to get to the bigger paying jobs, let's put the brake on. In order to get to the bigger paying jobs, you need to take things like Train Lane 2, Concurrent 2, Hazmat 1. You know, these are things that really start to pay the bills, ultimately. The problem is, once you start going down that road of having a high copay, you've basically taken all the risks already. So it's in for a penny, in for a pound is what actually happens. Let's put the brake on this car. You know, if you're having to pay 15,000 copay versus 25,000, you might as well be paying 25,000 and taking jobs that are worth 100 grand. That's the reality of the game. So once we get that DH4, which we'll unlock next, I think, we start factoring in what kind of copay we want to pay. And at that point, we want to pay manual servicing as well. We want to be servicing our vehicles manually because it's half the price. Okay, that's 35 grand. Lovely jubbly. Let's just take the money. Okay, just need to make sure we don't send this train too quick that I can't catch it up. Right, let's get in the front cab. And I've already made a mistake because I've sent us in the wrong direction. I believe. Hang on, where are we? Oh no, we've gone the right direction. Ignore me. I thought we were going the wrong way then. I thought I'd forgot to flip the switch. This is a triangle. And for some reason I thought we were going to go that way. Okay, get the power down. We've got a big climb. You can see, though, that two DE2s really are pretty capable, considering the DE2's really just meant for shunting. If you get two of them in the early game, they're pretty good. The DM3 is a lot of fun, but it's not something that I personally want to drive around in a lot because, you know, the lack of remote control, the lack of hooking it up to other things, you can't combo it with other stuff very easily. And add to that, the complexity of the gearbox. It's a ton of fun, but once you've done it, you move on fairly quickly. The DH4 is where it's at. That's going to see us all the way up until we either go full on steam with a 282 or we go DE6. And a DE6 can be hooked up to a DH4, and a DH4 can be operated remotely. So they are the trains that pay the bills at the end of the day. The steam's a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun, but the diesel electrics definitely where it's at. Well, it's an absolutely gorgeous day in the valley. Like, it doesn't get any better than this. Beautiful sunshine, dry track, lots of daylight, and it's so good, the visibility today, that you can see the coal power plant on the left, and up in the distance on the right, that's the machine factory. That's where we're going up to. But yeah, the thing is about the valley is that the weather can turn, and if you do a drive in weather like this, and you do a drive in poor visibility, wet track, at night, it's a night and day difference. Just that same job is night and day difference. And I love that. I really like that about the game. Okay, we're approaching the machine factory. We've got a right signal ahead, which is correct. Just to remind ourselves where we're going, C4I. I am going to double check it this time. Machine factory. So this is the signal ahead. You can see it highlighting. Left into C. And then 4I should be right, right, right. Now, there is a service yard over here. You can see it there. I can see a DE6. I can see a DE2. I can see another DE6. I can see another DE2. I don't see a DH4, which is slightly disappointing. It's not the end of the world, but it would have been nice to have that option. Right, double check. Now, the input line tracks are always empty. And I can see there it is, dead ahead, C4I. Right there. And the signals are set. We're good. Awesome. So I have some money on now. 252. Yeah, we should make 300 easy. So we're probably going to think about getting the manual service, because that will allow us to manually service these vehicles for a lot less. But whether we choose to service them here or not is open to debate. I was kind of hoping there'd be a DH4 here. Just don't forget, we have to clear all the fees down before we can buy manual service. Which means you can never manually service until the next job, if you see what I mean. Okay, I hope I haven't gone too far. Oh, we should be alright. Okay, so what I want to do is put the brake on. Let's double check I haven't gone too far. We're just about in the yard. Put the brake on this. We're going to disconnect. And then we're going to turn this off. We're going to turn this off. Hopefully it'll allow me to... Oh, it did shut the fuel off. The tachometer was just showing the... Interesting, so it did actually turn that off. fine. When I shut it down earlier, I wasn't sure. Let me reset that. Put that into neutral. Make sure the throttle's off, which it is. Cool. Right, let's go and hand this job in. Awesome. 69,000. Nice. Right, that puts us on $322,000 now. With a grand total fees of, what's that, approximately 9,000, 12,000, 12 and a half. Off that, easy cleared 300 grand now. That's lovely. There's not many jobs up here, but that's for another day. Guys, that was a lot of fun. I've never actually hauled a DM3 on the front of two DE2s before. I hope you enjoyed that one. We are going to, in quotes, change gear soon. I want to get to that DH4, and I want to start unpacking those bigger licenses, and then we can start making some big money with some big trains, big complex, dangerous trains, etc. So I do like to build up a nice cash buffer before we take that leap, but I think we're more or less getting there now. We're ready for a DH4, I think, so as soon as we can get one, we'll get one. But that's it for this episode. Please let me know in the comments what you think about the series. If there's anything you don't understand, ask away. I'll try and answer your questions. But yeah, please give me a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you're not actually subbed, consider subscribing. I do a lot of simulation content on YouTube. I have a second channel called Squirrel Plus, where my live streams go. I do live stream to YouTube as well now, but there's a higher res version over at Squirrel Plus of my live streams, the 1440p version. So it's worth checking that out, and I do stream on Twitch as well at the same time. That's it from me, guys. Take care. Happy training.